Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 100. That's right, keeping it 100 here on the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. It's Thursday, April 5th, 2018. Hopefully I got that date right. During WrestleMania season, your mind goes into a lot of places and you tend to forget stuff because there's so much going on in the process. But in just about, 12 hours, I'll be making my voyage down to the Big Easy for the very first time. Very excited to go to WrestleMania 34 this weekend. Hanging out with Brother Carter, hanging out with B-Rob and all the other good friends down there in New Orleans. I've been having a good time going to these trips. It's been good life lessons, being out there for a certain amount of time by yourself and not going by your regular schedule. So I'm very excited. But more importantly, I'm in a good place today because it's cool to celebrate the 100th episode of this particular podcast. This is not my 100th wrestling podcast or video show I've done. I want to make that clear, but from starting this up all the way to 2013 to where we are now in 2018, there's been a lot of evolution. But I think one thing that's been very consistent whether I was doing the Pro Wrestling Experience or this show is that you always got a perspective of a fan and nothing else and nothing more. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank everybody who supported this podcast from the beginning, and your support is truly appreciated. From Derek, from Punkster, who's joining me today, from from Sam Piopo, from Brandon DeJesus, my good friends here in Chicago, my mentors Steve Muehlhausen and Jonathan Hood, and all the other people from the Illinois Media School, and just I can list numerous people. Of course, give a shout out to our regular contingent of people like Sam Rafferty and Nick from the UK and Patrick Fritz. The list goes on, and I know I'll probably forget some people along the way, but I just wanted to say thank you for everybody who's ever given this podcast a chance from the beginning, and the best is yet to come. But I'm not alone today for this podcast. It's not going to be a long one, actually, because I'm going to be separating this in two parts. I'm going to be recording one here. I may record one in New Orleans. If not, we'll do another one with Adam when I come back to Chicago next week. So, glad to welcome in Adam Daley back here at the podcast. What's going on, my man?
Josh, what is up, brother? What's going on today?
Not much. How about you?
Another one of those days. So, yeah, brother, it's definitely, this year things a little not being able to go down. Typically, we've been, I know this is where we sound very spoiled about WrestleMania, but we don't usually mind if something comes up. We miss WrestleMania just because when you've been to 7, it's what kind of kills me when people complain and they're going and they're like, oh my God, one match, where? It's like, you're about to have like a weekend of a lifetime, and especially roughly like New Orleans, and I keep saying this, is like the perfect city for WrestleMania. Brother, you guys are going to have a blast. I'm very envious that this year, the past couple of years have kind of been out of our hands, but they've been like medical stuff that's been going on, relocations, stuff. So it's been good reasons to miss. This year, it's totally out of our hands. We're still waiting for our income taxes to come back. So let's just say I'm a little upset with Uncle Sam right now. But have a good time. Enjoy yourselves. I'll be there in spirit. But I don't know. I think me and Lady Nexus will probably be staying off of social media because we're going to be a little jelly this weekend.
I gotta get that meme of the guy for the Red Hot Chili Pepper with the salt. You know what I'm talking about? I forgot the lead singer's name.
Oh, Anthony Kiedis.
Yes. You seen that one before, right?
Okay.
No, you saw that one before, right? That meme or GIF, whatever it is. Yeah.
No, not with him. No, not with Kiedis. I saw the weird the chef that was like that became like a pop sensation last year just because he put salt on foods real weird. Because he like sprinkled it like real like from the heavens above. It's the only reason why this dude is popular.
Right.
I've never seen him with Anthony Kiedis though.
So what we're gonna do here today is preview WrestleMania, obviously, and shoot the shit like we usually do here. But I want to get some business stuff out of the way. Not really business. I mean, you don't have to follow us on social media. It's probably better you don't. The less time on social media, the less stress you have. But if you do, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshi, and Punkster's at Twitter at AdamDaily13, and on Instagram as well. So, and for anybody who wants to send any questions or want to sponsor the podcast, you can send me an email to prowrestlingtranscriptions@gmail.com. I have my website. I haven't been able to use it this week, but you can check it out, prowrestlingtranscriptions.com. And for those who are listening to the podcast, subscribe. Tell a friend about it. I even changed the YouTube channel that I originally had. You can just find it easy on YouTube, Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. So might as well get this bad boy going. And, we did our first episode together. It was about a week after WrestleMania 32 when I left WrestleZone. And it's crazy that we're already at 100 episodes, and time goes by super, super fast. I know everybody's excited for WrestleMania week. I am. You're talking about it a little bit earlier about how it always seems like every WrestleMania is always one match. People are like, oh, this show's gonna suck because this one match, and yeah, one match is gonna represent 7 hours of wrestling on Sunday, I guess.
Well, I think what drives me insane about it is that I think a lot of people that have been to events before. I totally understand where you would say, I would never throw down X number of dollars. If there's one match that really, for whatever reason, is bothering you, like somebody that much, I get it. If it were your typical Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-view, this, and I'm not trying to sound like a promo guy here, but this is WrestleMania. This is different. It kills me when people sit there and talk about how shitty WrestleMania is. It's all sour grapes, brother. It's all sour grapes because people want to be down there. I don't understand how anybody can look at this card and not think like, okay, this is going to be one of the better WrestleManias in at least the past 10 to 15 years. Right. And then on the flip side of it, when you put it in one of the greatest American cities, when it comes to having fun, just you talk about a positive vibe, and like the locals of the city of New Orleans to just uplift you. And I've told my story a million times how I was really, really sick down there, and the people in New Orleans really brought me out of a certain kind of situation that I was in. So I think it's so. It is somewhat comical, but it really kind of shows the levels in society right now that when to not be able to differentiate a regular event in WrestleMania, because if one match, 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes of an entire 5 days, maybe some people it's 3 days, some people it's 7 days, right. However long you're going to be down there. And your entire week is based around wrestling events, wrestling access, wrestling fans, running into wrestlers on Bourbon Street. It's literally the time of your life. And people are nitpicking, saying, "Well, my hard-earned money." Listen, I know you paid $70 for WrestleMania 27, and that just sucked. You know what I mean? I keep going back to that, but. I don't know, man. I'm with you, Josh. I think people I can't understand where any negativity for this WrestleMania is actually coming from. I really don't. I think people that are trying to use ticket sales right now, I think you're really reaching for straws. There's always tickets available for every WrestleMania everywhere. They never sell out. Come on. We're watching the circus. Do you think they're going to be realistically honest about attendance too? Let's get real, guys. They're never sold out.
Yeah, I don't need to bring up the conversation that we had the other day. Oh, man. Remember Major League? Get that ERA up? Oh, man. Let me say this really quick, though. I kind of correlate this show to Survivor Series last year, where you had a lot of big matches on the card, right? And then people were trashing it after the fact because they didn't like how the men's Survivor Series match or whatever ended. And I remember it like yesterday because I was like, okay, the main complaint about that match was like, oh, it came down to Triple H and Kurt Angle and part-timers, but Braun Strowman was the last thing you saw before the pay-per-view went off the air. And I when you look at these pay-per-views that have big, wrestling heavy cards that you're very excited for, like a hardcore wrestling fan, they'll take stupid subjective booking decisions and dictate for that. Like, you look at the Usos in the bar. This is just my example. I don't need to go over the whole Survivor Series paper from last year, but I kind of look at it the same as WrestleMania this year. You have so many matches that you're looking forward to from a hardcore fan perspective. Don't let, I guess, booking decisions to cloud your judgment. I look at it as more, these guys are going out of their way to make the match enjoyable for you. Now, if you want to rip like what happened with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt last year at WrestleMania, I don't blame you for that point of view. But when I look at WrestleMania this year, there's so many matches this year that I don't care who wins the match. Maybe I'm looking at it from the wrong angle, but that's how I look at it with WrestleMania. This is a culmination for a great year of programming. It really doesn't matter who wins.
Well, and I think here's the difference. And I know this sucks for us, and I'm not saying this to sound pretentious or to sound or anything like that. But here's what we forget: when we watch the Super Bowl, there is no game the next day. In fact, there's not another game for 7-8 months.
Right.
And in that off season, there's trades, there's a draft, there's a lot of things to go on. There's downtime. For everybody that's looking at WrestleMania and you want finality, WrestleMania, and the way that they do business now, because they're constantly telling an evolving story that not only are they just going WrestleMania to WrestleMania, sometimes they're tying in WrestleMania to the WrestleMania after that. They're telling long-form stories, and we have to always go back to where Vince McMahon says, the whole thing with him and Ted Turner, it was, Ted Turner saying, hey, we're getting into wrestling business. And Vince stopping him right there saying, no, we tell stories. We're storytelling. We're not wrestling.
Right.
So I think we have to remember that first, guys. And it's not, just a lot of us kind of forget that, yes, it is sports entertainment, but it's because it's entertainment that's loosely based on a choreographed sport. Or it's entertainment that's based off of a choreographed sport. So, I don't ever think it's fair to compare WrestleMania to the Super Bowl or to anything. It's WrestleMania is the Grammys of wrestling. WrestleMania is the Oscars of wrestling. It is Bonnaroo of wrestling. You know what I mean? It is your variety show where SummerSlam placates more to the hardcore IWC fan. That's where the wrestling bubble, that's where we get kind of what we want. WrestleMania is for your shareholders and for your children. It's not about us. And I think that's where we have, as fans of a certain age, 20s into their 30s, have to understand that it really is more about the kids and the business itself than pleasing a microcosm of the fan base that goes on Twitter and argues and debates and does podcasting. And you know what I mean? That's like saying, hey, there's 15,000 people in this arena. 13,000 of us have Twitter accounts and are on podcasts, when really it's probably like 3,000. You know what I mean? There's probably, the percentages are probably like 1 out of every 5 people in that arena when you really look at it, because there's kids and there's older adults that don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's a variety show, and this is the show of shows. So it's not going to placate. This isn't your hardcore show. It's not, if the IWP fan really wants to be pleased, and you're really looking forward to that hardcore fan show, you got to TakeOver the night before. At least that's how I've always felt. TakeOver is more of it has more of an indie feel. WWE, we always forget, because it's ingrained in us since we're children, but we do forget that it is an entertainment company first. It's an illusion of sport that's entertainment.
Right. You've been to a lot of WrestleManias in the past.
Sorry, Josh. Stuntmen are athletes too.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they get to end the Oscars. You know what I mean?
That's true. You've been to WrestleManias. What's the one common thing you get from your experiences going to these shows? What's the main takeaway you get from going to these events?
Man. It's just the overwhelming feeling of being overwhelmed. I know that's like kind of like a whatever kind of statement, and a lot of people are going to shrug that off. But when you go to your first WrestleMania and you're caught up in it's when you see it on TV, and even in the hype of when you're doing podcasts and stuff, it gets exciting, and you're always excited for that time of the year. But when you go to your first one, like before I was a cosplayer, and you see someone dressed up, you're like, wait a minute. Dude's dressed up like the Undertaker, just walking around Target. This is pretty awesome, and that wasn't my first one, Josh, but that was a good example from up in Chicago. But you really, once you go to a WrestleMania, you really realize that it's a hell of a lot more than just the event that you're there for. You think that we're going down just for the pay-per-view, just for, I just want to be at WrestleMania. But once you're down there, you realize that, holy shit, I'm meeting all these new people that you're gonna keep in touch with potentially for the rest of your life from all over the world. It's nobody's behind keyboards, so people actually have fun and they talk. People can go back and forth and joke with one another, and it's a really good time that way. So if you're asking what my takeaway from WrestleMania is, it's just the environment, man. WrestleMania to us has always been kind of just a cherry on top of an incredible Sunday that everybody should experience at least once. And if you're going down simply for WrestleMania alone, and that's your only reason, you'll definitely be surprised the first time, and then you'll want to go to a second, or a third, and a fourth, and a fifth. You know what I mean? But for me, it is. It's really. I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but it really isn't. I got married at. We got married at one. I was just talking to some of my friends from Scotland the other night. They met Paige on Bourbon Street. That you're not going to have that at your typical Extreme Rules or Money in the Bank. You know what I mean? It's a much different environment. And then you have all the independent companies down there. There's all WrestleCon. There's so much going on. It's like it's hard to really put it in words from a standpoint. And it's something special when your wife looks at you after leaving her first WrestleMania and says, "We're getting married here next year." So. Yeah. I don't know. I get it. As wrestling fans, it's also been ingrained in us to always criticize. But this is one event that I think that we have to take a step back and really look at what WrestleMania really truly is. And it's the showcase of the Immortals. It's not the finality of the season.
Right. So, here's my experience for going to the events. A lot of it comes from hustling, and when I would go to an event, it would probably be at that time I'd be going to just one event, and then during the week, this is helpful advice for anybody that's going to New Orleans this weekend, and especially for those who don't have tickets for other shows. I think it's very easy for people to just go strictly to Ticketmaster, this and that, but I think for me the better option, if you want to go to these shows, is actually go to the box office of the arenas. I'm not saying the stadiums, because I'm pretty sure WrestleManias are never fully sold out, but you have a better shot getting easier and cheaper tickets at the box office for whatever Raw or SmackDown's at, as opposed to what you would get at WrestleMania. Hell, I talked about this a lot on the show. I've got Hall of Fame tickets for $20 an hour before the show went live on the air, and it's fun. It's just helpful advice out there for me. I can share it to you guys, but also this is like life lessons, especially for somebody like my age who don't get to go to a lot of places. When I get the opportunity to go to a different state by myself for a certain amount of time, it's fun to enjoy that experience where you're not dominated by the minutia they deal with family stuff every single week. And that's the fun that I get out of these WrestleMania trips. And yes, getting to meet new people and enjoying these shows for what they are. But I guess the main takeaway that I have from going to these WrestleManias is that I'm in a place where I can be myself and nothing else matters. And I can let my mind set free, and nobody is going to go out of my way to ruin the experience for me. and I enjoy going to these trips for that reason. I'm in a place where I want to be. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm not ashamed of it. Neither should you. It's really cool as this niche form of entertainment that we could dominate a certain section of a city for an entire week for just one event. And I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, and I think, too, that we do forget that this is something that does attract people from all around the world. This is literally a worldwide affair where other events in the United States, it does get compared to the Super Bowl a lot, but the Super Bowl is, that's an American thing. And listen, the Super Bowl sells out every year because it's a corporate, let me rub elbows next to people. It's people buy tickets without even knowing who's going to be in the game, that just so that they could sell tickets to fans from that team and or corporate. You know what I mean? It's in a way, it really truly is apples to oranges, and that's why I wish people would look at. Just take a step back and look, like you said, look at just different things. Just number one, just being able to cut away from everyday life, no matter what it is, whether it's work, whether it's play. Just get on vacation. Everyone needs holiday, as they say over in the UK. Everybody needs holiday, but it's nice that it's in a different city every year. I like that they kind of bounce around, and again, man, it's almost like what we it's funny that in our everyday lives, a lot of times we have to be the closet wrestling fan, because we get picked on, and think about how much we get picked on, as wrestling fans, and how much we have to hear, it's fake, right? Come on, no, it isn't. There's a difference between fake, whatever, but it's nice being submerged, and again, just with so many fans from all around the world, it really does. It's life changing, man. So anybody that I think that's been the one, that's why you hear, man, I need to go to another one, or I need to go to another one. Or if it's like us, we're upset this year, and we're not going to go next year because we're not into the New York, New Jersey vibe. It's freezing all night for WrestleMania. But we can't wait to find out where they're going to be the year after that, or the year after. So I just think that this is something. And again, other shows, I totally get it. If it was a show that was coming to my town and maybe Brock Roman was the main event and this was the one pay-per-view we're getting all year, I'd be like, oh, really? Maybe, I don't know how I would feel. But I just think it's so much different when it's WrestleMania. When, like you said, when there's 7 hours of matches. Oh my God. Oh my. So.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look at NXT TakeOver that's happening on Saturday. Just 5 matches on the show. I think this one's gonna go over because a lot of the matches have gimmicks attached to them, and there's a lot of big grudge feuds on this TakeOver special on Saturday. They're introducing a new title. We have a 6-man ladder match for the NXT North American Championship. Now we're heading back to the NWA territory for this stuff, which is cool. You have EC3 against Killian Dane from Sanity, Lars Sullivan, the guy who's just a monster. Let's just keep it 100, man. I never seen hands that big in my life before. Braun Strowman's like, get these hands. Lars Sullivan has hands. Yes. And then you have the Velveteen Dream, a guy who I had a chance to interview before. Very cool guy. You have Adam Cole, our guy. Adam Cole, baby! And then finally we have Ricochet. So you got a mix of Ring of Honor, NXT, Tough Enough, Impact, and Lucha Underground all into one, which I think is very, very interesting. So I'm very excited for this match. And then other stuff on the show, you have Ember Moon against Shayna Baszler, a rematch for their TakeOver Philadelphia bout. And then you have Aleister Black and Andrade Cien Almas. Here's a funny story, brother. When I went to TakeOver Orlando last year, that was Aleister Black's debut match in NXT. And he had the same opponent that he's fighting for the NXT title on Saturday, which I think is pretty cool. And then, Yep, and then you have a three-way match for the NXT tag titles, and they still haven't figured out who won the Dusty Cup, so I guess the trophy will be added to this as well. You have Authors of Pain, Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong, which is a good tag team, and then who's the Undisputed Era. Yeah, that's right. The band that has elevator music as their theme song. And then finally, we have Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa in an unsanctioned match. So TakeOver New Orleans should be a fun show like most of these takeovers are. Any of these matches I mentioned spark your interest, bro?
Yeah, and even this is from someone, and I always like to say this, Josh, just to, so everyone's clear. Right. I haven't watched an episode of NXT since the last TakeOver. So with that being said, right from the jump, Gargano Ciampa jumps out at me. Right. I definitely want to see that. I love Tommaso Ciampa. He's been playing heel, he's the antagonist role very, very, very well. That feud, it just feels natural, feels right. It's just one of those where you don't even really have to buy into the story, so to speak, as much. And you don't really have to put up that illusion of we're an Aleister Black character. Aleister Black versus Andre Cien Almas. Looking forward to that just as much. Obviously, there's a different style of character with with Aleister Black versus the other two. So. But those two instantly jump off the page for me. Emberman, Shayna Baszler is another one. I'm a big fan of both of these women, so I'm looking forward to what happens in that match. I like that they're coming out with a mid-card title for NXT too. It's about time. I think it's overdue. And I think that they have a lot of really good competitors in that as well too. So, but I mean, the takeovers are always what's fun about takeover is that you can always just kind of dive in. It's like you ECWs. You didn't really ever have to see the in between shows. You knew you were getting great pay-per-views out of them. I hate comparing the two, but because they're different styles of wrestling. But I think it's because of the passionate fan base. You know what I mean? The ability to fall right into the stories of the matches, just right from the jump. I feel like NXT always does a really good job.
Right. I'm excited for it. This is my second. No, this will be my third takeover that I went to because they had one in Chicago last year too. For example, TakeOver Orlando, that was another show where I hustled in and got a last-minute ticket at the box office for a good price. And I actually had good seats, too. So TakeOver New Orleans should be a fun show as well. All these shows, by the way, non-WrestleMania related, are at the Smoothie King Center, which is kind of a different setup than they had last year in Orlando because... you had a lot of the shows at the Amway Center, but you had to go almost a full mile to just reach Camping Dump Stadium in Orlando, Florida. Yes, yes, it is.
I can't say this enough. We thought about going down and not going to any events. We just wanted to come down and just party with everyone all weekend. But yes, Josh, you're right. The arenas are right next to each other. So literally, when I say everyone, if you're going to run into wrestlers just randomly out in talent. Just be prepared. Don't work out. They're humans, please. They're human beings. But have a blast. Good job.
Yeah, don't run up to them. You'll get got. Right.
Yeah, definitely. You know what? You'll just feel them out. Just don't run up to people and say, "Hey, could I have a picture of something?" If you're somewhere, just be like, "Hey, there's a way to remember. They're humans too. Everyone's entitled to a bad day. Everyone's entitled to a good day." And sometimes if you see someone, just be like, "Hey, really appreciate your work." A lot of times that means a lot more to somebody than, "Hey, man, could I get a picture with you?" And remember, it is more about the kids. So. If there's kids there around, don't try to rush up on talent when there's kids around. Let the kids have their moment. We were young before, now let's pass that on to the next generation. And that's just something that I've heard from talent. So, if you want to stay on talent's good side, let the kids have their way first.
All right, what's one place that I should check out personally in New Orleans?
You got to go to what we call the Alabibis, but it's called Alibis, and I'm only saying that because that was like our home base where we were eating, drinking, being merry for like the entire New Orleans trip. That at least like the half of the trip that I was able to go out for. I don't want to say any one place, Josh, because Bourbon Street is where you're going to be at. Bourbon Street is the place to be. Musically, there's a street down. I forget the name of the street. You'll probably want to go down there because there's a lot of really good jazz bars. They'll probably have open mic nights, different things like that. But just being in the Bourbon Street environment, and when we were down there a couple of years ago, it did feel like, not on this scale, obviously, but it felt like a mini Mardi Gras. I mean, there's people throwing beads. It's insane. I was having people take the Straight Edge Society pledge from a balcony in New Orleans, and people were actually doing it at like 4 o'clock in the morning. It's outrageous, Josh. So to say any one place would kind of it would kind of be doing the city an injustice, because there's so many, and not just the party scene of Bourbon Street too, but there's go out, see where the alligators and the crocodile tours are and stuff like that. Make sure you check out Café Du Monde. It's one of the more famous, popular places out there. But there's Alibis. There's a lot of our heart and soul and love in Alibis. So make sure you hit up the Alibis.
I think the country right now needs to indulge in a straight edge pledge.
It was amazing. It was really fun and really amazing to watch people do this. And it was just like, wow, as wrestling fans, we will do anything.
Right. All right, man. Let's get to WrestleMania. I guess we can make predictions for now. There is a lot of matches that's happening on Sunday, but I was looking back at like shows like 18 and 17, and I think WrestleMania 20 had like a lot of matches too, if I'm not mistaken. So. Either way, I haven't found a match where I'm going to go to the bathroom because, I don't know, man, I'm just one of those rare people that don't need to rush to the bathroom all the time. I hold my control with that stuff, but I got the lineup here. They're going to have both the Battle Royals on the network on the kickoff show. But here's what's going to be shown on the USA Network. So that'll be the second hour of the kickoff show. You have Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, finals of the Cruiserweight Championship Tournament, one-on-one match. I can't wait for this one. I've been blessed to cover this tournament from the beginning, and Drake Maverick has been killing it on 205 Live. He even put a little promo on his Twitter page if you guys want to check that out. I know people don't want to rush into the building and stuff and catch the entire kickoff show, but if you want to watch the second hour and watch a really, really good match, these guys are going to tear it up. I'm very, very excited to watch this match. Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali. I'm going to be biased here. I'm going to go with my hometown guy. I'm going to go with Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, that's who I want to win, so that's who I'm going to go with too. I like Ali, and I don't know. I like both of these guys really, but I do think that they're probably going to give it to Cedric Alexander. But I'm with you. I'm pulling for Ali.
Yeah, these guys are gonna tear this shit down, man. It's gonna be pretty good. And then you have the women's battle royal. This is the case. I mean, it really don't matter who wins. I'm pretty sure some feuds will come out of this. Whoever wins this match. You know what? I'm gonna go with Sonya Deville. I'll go with a wild card here. I'll have her win the battle royal. Why not?
Actually, I like that dude. I think she's really, really grown on me like a lot. I think she's really improved. I mean, you can see how quickly she's improved. The special they did too. What was it? The last 24 they did. Or it wasn't a WWE 24, but it was the Women's Evolution special.
Yeah, that was 24. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She really impressed me on there too. So I'll admit, we were looking at shirts. I almost bought an Absolution shirt the other day. So I would totally be okay with that. I would like to see somebody young, or one of the younger talents get it, which it's also weird to think, Josh, that most of the women in this are fresh talent, you know?
Right.
So I don't necessarily think that, although it's probably going to end up Sasha and Bayley as the final two, I don't necessarily think they need it. I would almost like to see them cause each other the match so that they can continue the feud after WrestleMania. I would... You know what? I'll go with, if you're going with, I'm going to go Ruby Riott.
All right.
I'm gonna go Ruby. If you're going with Sonya, I gotta go with someone with the Riott Squad, and I'm gonna go with Ruby on that one.
I'm a big fan of Ruby Riott as well. She's awesome. Let's go over the 5th annual Andre. They just call it the Andre now. No, I'm kidding. They don't call it that. But it's the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I think whoever wins this match could get a bigger push this year because of the documentary that's coming out next week. I could be wrong about that. I suggested in the past the winner of these Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royals get a future title shot at one of these summer pay-per-views. It didn't have to be SummerSlam or anything like that, but a good consolation prize for winning the Battle Royal. So I do think whoever wins this one this year will get some spotlight. So I'm going to go with Elias, actually.
Elias. I want to walk with Elias. I don't think he wins the Battle Royal, though. I would like to see him win it. I actually think Baron Corbin's winning it for the 2nd year in a row.
Oh, wow.
I do. And you know what? Screw it. Since everybody always likes to talk spoilers, and listen, there's going to be a really quick spoiler, and remember, cards are subject to change, guys. So there is on the Raw, it was Raw or SmackDown this week, they ran, and I don't know why they did this, they ran a commercial for Extreme Rules in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this July. Get your tickets this Friday, or whenever you guys listen to this, or whenever they go on sale. I'm not really sure. But the main event, they said, is WWE Champion AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus Baron Corbin in a triple threat match for the WWE Championship. That being said, who really knows? That's card subject to change. That's months away. That's nothing but them tossing fodder for people like you and I to talk about on a podcast, you know?
Right.
But I do think that right now, if they're trying to... Listen, I think Corbin is improving. There's little things that... I know this sounds weird. I'm having trouble buying into him as a villain, as a bad guy. That's really the only thing. I truly think he's really improving in the ring. Last pay-per-view, there was like a good 10 minutes where it was like, holy shit, like he was on his game. Like he looked like somebody that should be in a championship match. So I think it could do Baron Corbin and the Baron Corbin character a lot of good to have him win back-to-back, Andres. With the, like you said, with that documentary coming out, this puts a little bit more spotlight on him. So once he's put in championship matches this summer, it kind of gives him and the position in those matches a little more validity.
I do admit though I don't know if I'll mark out, but I will get a good laugh if Woken Matt Hardy won. Humongous Wonder number 8.
And listen, the Woken Matt Hardy, the Woken joke or whatever they're calling it, the Killing Woke. It's the Joker's Killing Joke, but it's Matt Hardy's face. I think you get it from Ripped Apparel.
Right.
Is hands down my favorite T-shirt out there right now.
Don't forget, mower of lawn. Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that shirt's tremendous. All right, let's get to the big shenanigans here. We have the Usos, New Day, and Bludgeon Brothers. I'm pretty sure this match will start off the show with New Day being the host of last year's WrestleMania, and this is the right match to start off the show. Three teams that are really good in the ring. I don't need to kiss the Usos' ass. They've been doing some really good shit this year. New Day are solid, and of course, I think Harper and Rowan are pretty underappreciated for what they do inside the ring. and underappreciated in general. So I'm looking forward to this match, but I have the Usos retaining here.
I can figure out some titles to change hands because I have some things going on later in the pay-per-view, so I got to figure out a couple title changes. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bludgeon Brothers win this one, and which I think would be good for them. Not one of those, you know, the titles can make a tag team, but they've been around long enough that they don't have the Wyatt family like stigma attached to them, and they can finally be their own image and their own character. You know what? Throw the titles on them and run with them. They've been really strong. I mean, I think they have an opportunity to build a really good a classic heel tag team again. You know, like the old Demolition or like characters that we should be like, all right, come on, this is ridiculous, but it works, you know. So sometimes when you get these rare occasions, New Day and Usos have done so much this year. I think they would be doing them the honor, you know what I mean, by putting them over. So I'd like to see them, or at least that's what I'd like to see come out of it.
Next one, it's a match that me and you have been looking forward to. This is a match that I felt it's had like one of the best stories going into the show. We got Alexa Bliss against Nia Jax for the Raw Women's Championship. I don't think this match is going to go long, but I'll go with Nia Jax in this one.
Yeah, this match is going to be like 3 moves. Alexa's getting tossed around. Yeah, I think I'm going Nia. Big time.
Yeah, Alexa's going to get got. Next one.
Do you think this was a good story to tell, Josh? Let me take your brain for a second, because this was the whole, when people were saying, "Oh, the angle should be she has to go like this, she was going to lose weight with it or whatever." Isn't this the story that really was supposed to be? This was the story that should be told.
Yeah, we're in the reality era, right?
Well, plus when you're trying to, be a role model for women, and this is because it's a different demographic that they're used to tapping into. You want young women to feel comfortable in their own skin. It's not about just like this external beauty all the time. And by the way, Nia Jax is a beautiful woman too, so that's what also kills me about this argument by certain dancing fools. But I don't know. I don't get why anybody would say that this angle had to end somehow with Nia Jax losing weight. Like, this is the angle. This is the comeuppance of the high school stuck-up Queen Bee and the chick that the cool chick that I don't know, you get what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to think of the name of that character or whatever, because it's not like the nerd or whatever. It's just the outcast that never gets the spotlight. There you go. This is storytelling 101. I don't see where anybody would have to look more into that. It's the outcast versus the Queen Bee. Period.
Right. Next one we got a 4-way match for the U.S. title. So the way I'm ordering these matches, it's not based on pacing. It's based on separating multi-person matches. So, for example, you just had a one-on-one match, and there's multiple multi-person matches on the show, so I didn't want to overlap them consecutively. So this next one is Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, my guy Jinder Mahal, and Rusev Day. I think Rusev's going to win. I think that's the only reason why he's added to the match. So I think Rusev will win the U.S. title.
You know what? I'm actually, there's 2 guys I'm pulling for, and that's Rusev and that's Jinder. And I want to agree with you because I want to agree for the exact same reason, and especially for the showing on SmackDown the other night. Even Aiden English was so on his game the other night. But I think that's the reason why Jinder Mahal wins, so that after WrestleMania you could have Rusev and Jinder feud for the United States Championship. And Bobby Roode might be able to get bumped up maybe to the world title picture. I don't know what Randy Orton does or whatever, but then you really start to establish that mid-level again. And Randy Orton and Bobby Roode don't have to be in the mid-card. So I'll go Jinder just so Jinder and Rusev can feud after WrestleMania. How about that one?
Yeah, how about the marbles? Rusev Day. Rusev Mashka.
I love it. Every day's Rusev Day.
Yes. It's not Rusev Day for this next match, but a lot of people are excited for it. Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They had the stipulation if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn win, they get their jobs back. Even if they lose this match, I'm pretty sure they'll show up on Raw as the new Superstar Shakeup comes around. So, this is one of the matches where I don't care who wins. I mean, it's cool that Daniel Bryan's going to be back in the ring, but Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have done such a good job this past year in holding on the SmackDown brand. So I wouldn't have a problem with them winning, but just to play it safe, I'll go with Daniel Bryan and Shane.
Yeah, this is a tricky one because I can't see. Yeah, I have a general rule of thumb that I don't like to bet against McMahon all too often, just because in storylines they typically don't lose. But at the same time, I do think that Daniel Bryan and Shane go over. I mean, that place will go crazy, absolutely crazy if Daniel Bryan loses his first match back. It would probably be close to Undertaker losing the streak type of. I mean, I thought people were going to riot in that same exact building. I've never seen a more angry group of people than after Undertaker lost his streak. So I don't know if they necessarily want to duplicate that all over again. So I think for this, you probably should put Daniel Bryan in. Because, like you said, they're going to do the Superstar Shakeup. They could just put Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens over on Raw.
Right.
Actually, let me ask a question though. And I don't know this, and I'm just saying this just in a way for laughs, but somewhat. I mean, couldn't Sami Zayn wrestle as El Generico in WWE?
I don't know.
Even for like a month, just as like a joke, like how they did like the Calgary Kid, like the Midgets for a night, or Hogan was Mr. America or whatever.
Is El Generico going to be on 205 Live?
Ooh. He should. Wow, why don't we have Sami Zayn and El Generico?
Right. All right, next one. Charlotte against Asuka for the SmackDown Women's title. I'm excited for this match. This is a dream match for modern-day women's wrestling fans out there. These two are going to kill it. I'm pretty sure they'll get time. I mean, you have enough time as it is throughout the show, so they'll get their just due. But here's the thing, though. You were talking about rioting and reactions to streaks come to end. Is this the one, Adam? Is the streak over?
No. Hell no. What do you think?
I'm going to say no, but there's some conspiracy or whatever about Charlotte always winning the big matches and getting the big moments, I guess, these days. But I don't agree. I don't subscribe to that theory. But I don't see the streak come to an end.
Well, there is a certain way that they could protect Charlotte. I mean, the women do have a Money in the Bank briefcase still floating around. Carmella could make this a triple threat match mid-match and actually end up taking the fall. Kind of like if Seth Rollins would have failed at WrestleMania 31.
Right.
Then you protect Charlotte from taking the fall. Asuka goes over, still gets the title. Asuka stays undefeated. Then her and Charlotte can feud after the fact. Although I still think that eventually you have to get, Charlotte gets out of the picture and then maybe gets sent back over to Raw. I'm a firm believer that WrestleMania 35 is Asuka versus Rousey, streak versus streak, or Rousey versus streak. I think that Ronda Rousey is going to be the one to break Asuka's streak. So I don't see that happening until next year. I know that sounds crazy because we're already on how many days? Like 900 or...
It's over 200.
What is it? Like...
I don't know. I think it's almost over 200, right? Somewhere around there.
No, Oscar Street, like, it's from when she debuted. It's from whenever she debuted. So it was, 2015?
Oh, yeah.
So she's on, I mean, I thought it was like 600-700 matches, 800 matches, something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
There's so many words on the screen anymore. It's like, I'm starting to push words back. Like, I don't need to read the screen.
So she definitely went past Punk's title reign. That's for sure. Yep.
I don't know. Do you think this is one where they pull a fast one on us and Charlotte can still win?
I would be surprised, but I do like your idea of Carmella coming in, but it's a reverse Seth Rollins. I wouldn't mind that.
I guess the only reason why I think that Carmella isn't gonna be a successful cash in, and I feel that might be the best place for her to lose the briefcase if she isn't gonna be a successful cash in, is I do think that they want to run with us the streak for a while longer. I do. I'm not gonna buy into that. Listen, it maybe for certain occasions, certain people have a little bit of extra pull here, but if they have a long term, like a serious long term plan. I don't care how much favor you have backstage. You're not going to be able to change a year-long program just because what people are saying is Ric Flair is going to be able to pull favor for his daughter. Is that what people are saying, Josh?
Yeah.
Kind of. Then what you're basically saying is that everything that Charlotte Flair has ever accomplished on her own has been a favor to Ric Flair. So I think that's a bullshit excuse. I absolutely think that people are just trying to. This is where we start playing mind games because we want to book ourselves into a corner. It goes back to Occam's razor, brother. We know the streak's probably going to be intact for a while. We know they want to run it for a while. We know that there's reports out there that they want to run this till next WrestleMania. Whether they do or they don't, we know there's reports out there that they probably know Carmella's going to be a failed cash-in unless she switches it and tries to cash in on Raw. So why would we think that all of a sudden last minute Ric Flair is going to be able to change what they might eat? We're delusional as fans sometimes, I think.
Not only that, think about this, though. I heard that narrative from Michelle, especially with what happened at WrestleMania 32. Like, you know how they're going with the whole thing about the new first women's champion? And it was, it wasn't Sasha who got that moment. It was Charlotte. She played politics.
I just think that. Listen, this is the unfortunate side of it. There's money, whether people like it or not. There's a reason why they put her last name at the end. She went back to Charlotte Flair versus just Charlotte. There's marketability. There's money in that. And I'm not saying there isn't marketability in Bayley or a Sasha or a Becky Lynch. But now that the women's division is starting to fill up a little bit more, and it's not just what we had in the Divas division versus the 4 horsewomen, and Paige, really, I think we're starting to see that Sasha Banks is better suited, and in storylines where I almost feel she's held down by a title. She's bigger than a title, and that's what drives me nuts about a lot of this. Like, Charlotte's starting to get to the point where I think we do see her go over to Raw in a shakeup, so that her and Ronda Rousey could eventually, that they could eventually go, because there's money in Rousey versus Flair. You know what I mean? Like, that's you start throwing that in front of my face for SummerSlam, and ESPN's already going to start talking about that. So, and that also gives them a reason to put Ric Flair on TV, and it gives them a reason to put Ronda Rousey on TV, and it gives them a reason to put Charlotte on TV. You know what I mean? So, I think we always keep going back to. It kind of makes me laugh. It makes me laugh, and I hope shout out to Derek for this one. But anytime we do the preview shows, and Derek would always be like, I really do think I see them being a world champion in the future. we don't have to all be world champions.
Right.
You know, and because I think like Bayley's character, I think is more effective not having the title, so that when they finally do put it on her for a month every once in a while, it means a hell of a lot more. I think whenever they finally put the title back on Sasha Banks, it's going to mean a lot more because she hasn't had it for so long, and she's probably going to be heel when they finally do it. You know, so I think we need to understand though that now that the women's division is filling up, it's a lot more competitive. And now we're seeing people like Alexa Bliss rose to the occasion. And listen, not for nothing, Alexa Bliss is also a lot more personable towards fans. And, you know, WWE pays attention to that. Right. I'm not saying how to kiss fans' asses. Listen, that's not what I'm saying. Because fans are very unruly and fans cross the lines, you know. But, you know, the company also doesn't like when you go on a podcast and say and talk badly about fans. You know what I mean? Or the team and stuff like that. So I think those are things that people need to be cognizant about too.
I love Brendan Carter, but you made a great point there. Not every person in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal are going to be future IC or U.S. champions either.
Oh yeah, and I'm teasing him about that. That's why when he hears this, I hope he knows I'm just messing with him. But that's as fans, that's what we all think. That's our instant thing is, oh well, when can they be champion? But we forget that, like, you know, even when a lot of the men and women, unless they really do something to step their game up, they're always going to be looked at as people that are going to be role players. And I'm not saying that about any of it, but now that the women's division is starting to mirror the men's division a little bit more, we're going to look for those role players. You know, and I think there's certain people like a Daley, like a Sasha Banks, like a Becky Lynch, that because they came up with as one of the horsewomen, they're almost more valuable right now, not only getting other people over or being in storylines that are away from the title. You know, I think that you need the bigger names, the bigger crossover names. No offense to anybody, but, you know, Bayley isn't a household name. If you say Charlotte Flair, people are going to go, wait a minute, is that Ric Flair's daughter? And yeah, is there an unfortunate upside to that? Absolutely. But it's not like Charlotte doesn't back it up in the ring. You know what I mean? It would be totally different if the woman didn't back it up. But, you know, you can make an argument that she's the best women's wrestler in the world. We could say that this match is between the two best women's wrestlers in the world right now. So.
Next one we got Miz, Finn Balor, and Seth Rollins. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. I'm very excited for this match, but I'm gonna go with Seth Rollins here. I don't have an exact reason why, but I just have a feeling Seth is going to win on Sunday. I can see reasons for Miz winning. I can see reasons for Finn Balor or Finny Travolta winning. It don't matter. But I got the man. I got Seth Rollins winning.
I'm gonna go with. I think. I'd love for the Miz to retain, but he probably wants to go spend time with his family, deservedly so. Family life it changes you when you have a girl. I'm okay with Rollins going over. I wouldn't mind seeing Balor win. I'm okay with anybody out of this match, to be honest, because it's going to set up, I think, some pretty good storylines after Mania. Yeah, I guess. And shout out to Balor for getting that Balor Publics for Everyone Pride, the LGBT shirt put out there. As soon as I showed my daughter the logo, she was like marking out, and she was upset that it wasn't a shirt. Now it is a shirt, so thank you, Finn Balor, for that one.
Yeah, that's a cool shirt. Maybe I'll get one for my sister, too. She'll like that.
Hey, and this is one of those matches that could steal the show. Like, don't sleep on this match. You know, and a lot of people out there are sleeping on this match, and you shouldn't.
This is also another match that can start off the show, too. So, I'm excited for
absolutely.
it. Next one, we got AJ Styles, Nakamura for the WWE title. This is the dream match. These guys are going to get a lot of time. I don't know if they'll outdo the Wrestle Kingdom match, but I'm sure they'll try. I'm going to go with AJ to retain, however. I think AJ will retain.
I agree 100%. I think AJ retains. Do you have any reasoning behind it?
I don't think it's not that I don't think Nakamura is ready. I think he will get a title somewhere down the road. I just don't think it's this Sunday. Like, I could easily see him getting the title at SummerSlam or him winning the Money in the Bank briefcase, and I think that'd be cool. But I think they're just doing this to say, oh, hey, we also had Styles and Nakamura on WrestleMania, but I think AJ will retain and hold out for a couple more months.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Nakamura probably wins the title like shortly after Mania. I'll admit, this is why I'm picking, and I'm okay with whoever goes over in this match, and this is another match that can steal the show. This is where I'm going to play the one time, and this is where I always say it's okay to be critical. Here's my critical mark. I think that AJ Styles goes over because WWE is a North American company. Just like in New Japan, typically Japanese talent goes over North American talent. You know what I mean? At Wrestle Kingdom, not at other shows, not at, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you usually have, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying sometimes it is what it is. And I think and I do think that this is something that AJ Styles has worked his entire career to get that WrestleMania championship win. And to go in as champion and to leave as champion is something that he would have done if he would have been in WWE earlier. So, I mean, I could give you a ton of reasons why I think it's going to work. Now, I'm okay with either outcome, but I do think Styles walks out.
And it's interesting that, even in 2018, to think that AJ Styles would walk into WrestleMania as champion is pretty cool. Like, I didn't think that would happen, but there goes there goes that myth about other talents from other companies not getting chances, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, right.
Next one, I'm pretty sure they'll sprinkle in where they're going to put, like, the Alliance concert or, how they do that Hall of Fame salute thing. Like, I'm sure they'll find a way to separate those. They usually do.
Josh, let me toss an idea at you, and I want to give a shout out to my buddy Nick Pileggi, my brother up in Buffalo, New York. He threw an idea past me that I didn't even think about. What about if we have the first ever WrestleMania Alliance concert, and it gets interrupted by The Rock?
Right. Yep. I actually had him doing a concert with him and Stone Cold.
Oh, it'd be so good.
They both play guitar too. Hopefully.
Can Kurt Angle come out with a really small guitar and a really small hat?
No. Unfortunately not. I remember that like it was yesterday, man. That shit was funny. All right, next one. We got The Authority gets Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle. I think this is Tap Out City Jones. I think Rousey and Kurt Angle are going to defeat The Authority. I can see a reasoning for The Authority to win because they're the McMahons and you can play the Sting card or whatever, but I have a feeling that Rousey and Angle will make them tap out at the same time. So I'm going with Rousey and Kurt Angle.
I want to see Ronda Rousey turn on Kurt so bad. I do. You have no idea how bad I want to see Rousey turn on Kurt, and that'd be the storyline, or that'd be the this kind of climax into WrestleMania, then kind of starts back up again tomorrow night, or the night after. Dude, it's just hard for me to ever go against Stephanie and Triple H at certain events, even though Triple H typically does put people over. Monday night was the first night that they finally got the better of Rousey. And they've been doing a really good job of making sure that Ronda's been getting going over, and that's the easy pick, and I'm sure that's the obvious pick, and that's probably what is going to happen, is she's going to make Steph tap out. But I'll admit, personally, I think there'd be something, and it's just personally, that's what I'm saying, it's totally a selfish storyline for me. I'd love to see Ronda turn on Kurt and kind of join Triple H and Stephanie and take the quote-unquote easy way. I'd love it. I would love it.
Who's going to be Braun Strowman's tag team partner?
I'm intentionally staying so far away from anything that could humanly possible spoil this. And I saw one thing that still, I accidentally saw one thing that could be. It better not be Hulk Hogan, dude. I'm saying, I hope that was one of those just like really far out there reaches that somebody. I'm not feeling that.
Can he even run anymore?
I don't think he should be able to. You know, even if he like attempted it, they should have a doctor at all times going, Hulk, no, not now, brother, no, hips, that's not, bad idea, bad.
Yeah, I don't see Hogan. No shot.
Or is that a different kind of ankle bracelet you got to wear usually? Dude. Sorry, I get a little hard on Hogan sometimes.
Yeah. I had a couple options. Somebody said James Ellsworth the other day, which I thought was pretty funny, just because of their history together. But I don't see that happening. That would be a bad idea. Other ones I had on the docket was Samoa Joe. I thought the Brains thing on Monday was pretty funny. Brain Strowman or Big Dick Dudley Jr. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that is pretty good. I agree with Brain as well. That's still pretty funny.
I think the Bar will probably retain the match, though, no matter who his tag team partner is.
Ah, man. Yeah, because I guess this was probably going to spawn like a Braun and somebody feud anyway. So, Joe would make sense. Because that would be a feud I would like to see is Joe versus Braun. Have a couple matches in a row. I don't know. I know I sound really terrible for radio on this one because I don't really have an answer. And I know that like I really haven't been giving it much thought intentionally. I actually, Josh, the one person I thought until we entered the Rumble, or the Battle Royal rather, was I thought about Elias. Because I thought it would be one of those funny tongue-in-cheek things of, like, you know what, I'm finished with you, now come be my partner. You know, after he fucking, like, slammed, like, the piano on him and stuff like that. I don't know, I thought it would just be a funny way to tie a bow on, like, that little, almost like a Sheamus and Cesaro type of scenario. You know, right. Not having anything long-term or, you know, whatever. It could be a one-night only thing. But, I don't know. But other than that, I'm very lost on who the surprise partner might be, just because I don't know who might come back or who might debut. Like, Bobby Lashley would be somebody that I wouldn't mind seeing till that spot. Maybe Alberto Del Rio.
Oh, no. Oh, maybe. We're both on Roman winning the Universal title, right?
No.
You're not?
No, I think Lesnar's winning, man.
I think he's leaving.
It's because here's my opinion on that, and this is just my opinion, guys. I think the greatest trick that the devil ever played on people was pretending that he didn't exist. And the one thing that people fear more than Roman Reigns having the title is Brock Lesnar retaining the title. And if his contract doesn't expire until August anyway, this whole thing with him and his attitude not showing, this has all been a work. This has all been a storyline. This would be the perfect time and it would show fans how hypocritical they really are. You boo Roman all the time. Well, you want to go home happy, so he loses. Oh, now you want to boo us because Brock Lesnar. Josh, I think there's so much value in having Lesnar go over. And then it still gives you, whenever he wants to finally go away in August, if that's when his contract expires, have Braun beat him, have Lashley beat him, have whomever you want to be that next big person. Because if that next big person, I don't think is going to be Reigns. I just really don't. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I am actually convinced that Lesnar's going to retain. I really do. I know I'm wrong, but that's where I'm at. But talk to me, Josh. Talk to me about it.
It's not a bad idea. I like it. I totally get where you're coming from. And you're right. The light will come through the tunnel with those reactions, especially for the hypocritical crowd. Yeah, I could totally see that happening. I just think I feel like Roman will win just out of the hell of it. But if you want to spark more controversy and more of these UFC rumors come out and you want to spark more heat, I can see that going. But there's also these topics about Paul Heyman turning on Brock Lesnar and teaming up with Roman Reigns. I don't know if that'll happen or not. That'd be interesting. You wouldn't?
No, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Again, I think it would instantly show people and prove how much people are hypocrites, because if you put Heyman on Reigns, people instantly are cheering for Reigns. As much as they say, well, we're cheering for Paul Heyman, you're going to be into the match. You're going to be popping for the match. And then you'll say, well, but it's because of Paul Heyman. Well, he's not actually wrestling, you know? I don't think they'll do. I don't know if Heyman wants to be there on a weekly basis.
Right. I don't know if... I should say I don't know, because I think this match will happen. But I don't know where they're going to go with Cena and Undertaker. I don't.
Kid Rock's bringing him out. Kid Rock's bringing him out. I don't know. Do you think Cena just gets in the ring and tries one more time, and then all of a sudden you hear the rev of a motorcycle back, you know, and all of a sudden the crowd pops. Kid Rock all of a sudden starts playing. Here comes Biker Taker, and all is right in the world because the American Badass is back one last time. Damn it! I actually like how they're doing this, because it's different and it's unique. So I'm strangely enjoying the way that they're dragging people along. I know a lot of people don't like it because they feel like it feels clumsy. We don't know what's going on. Well, think about it. We always say WrestleMania is so predictable. Two of the biggest names, we still don't know what they're doing with them.
Right.
And instead of having fun with it, we're trashing it, you know, instead of thinking like, okay, so maybe they could do this and it would be cool with that. I'm not even really heavily invested in either guy, but I've played out a million different ways that they could do this in my head just for fun, you know. So I'm looking forward to see how they play this out. But I think Cena gets in the ring and tries calling him out. You hear it, like, at least that's how I'm booking it. That's my fantasy booking. Damn it.
Right. Oh man, I'll be the luckiest fan in the world if I got to see Undertaker one more time, because I really thought last year was it, but if this is it and this is him and John Cena, man, that'd be fucking awesome. I really do want this match to happen. I really do.
Do you think? Would you be upset if and I know your answer, but yeah. Would you be upset if it is, you know, the American Badass Undertaker versus the mythical Undertaker, or you know, what's, you know, talk to me about that. Which one would you prefer, or is there is there value in one over the other?
I didn't mind the American Badass, but if you want to go with symbolism, and we're saying goodbye to the Dead Man last year, that's what it was. Now, if we're saying goodbye to Mark Calloway, then I won't have a problem with the American Badass, because that's it. That's the last we'll see of Mark Calloway. That's the last we'll see of the Undertaker. So, for me personally, I would like to see the Dead Man one more time, especially in an indoor stadium this time.
Right. I am not a fan of, as I call him, Biker Taker at all. I'll admit. I've always been a bigger fan of the Gothic Undertaker, the mythical Undertaker. But I actually think that John Cena, who has always really been kind of himself, not a character, a little bit at the beginning, obviously, with the rapper, whatever gimmick, but he's always just been John Cena. I think there's something to John Cena versus, like you said, Mark Calloway. It really would. So then, after the match, the Undertaker character really can't break kayfabe as much, other than just put his outfit in the ring and kind of go off into the sunset. Mark Calloway Holloway or the American Badass Undertaker can actually have a moment with the fans. You know what I mean? So win or lose or whatever happens, where I think that Cena would probably go over. I think he can have that one last moment where he is waving goodbye to the fans, where there could be that interaction that the Undertaker character kind of limits him from having. So I'm not saying they couldn't break character, and I get it. Again, it's just they've always been so careful to protect that character from breaking kayfabe. I think that's why you would, and I do think with Kid Rock there, it's a nice tie-in, and I think as much as people say they hate Kid Rock and they hated the American Badass gimmick, people would pop for it one last time. I'm with you though. My selfish side wants to see Dead Man Undertaker, one more time, but I think it would almost make more sense to do the American Badass.
Any final WrestleMania thoughts you have before we get into this crazy ass weekend?
Not on the WrestleMania card, man. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. Like I said, I just think I think the Battle Royals are starting to gain a little bit more traction than what they did the past couple of years. I think you're right about that. I think that. Well, no, I think that we forget there's always going to be a couple really good little segments thrown in there that we're not expecting, little, pop-ins, people coming back, just, this, that, or the other thing, little cameos here and there. But we just got to remember, this is supposed to be the showcase of the Immortals. This is the variety show of, this is why we don't ever usually talk about every single match of a WrestleMania card. We always have that one or two matches that every year that we always talk about for the next 5 or 6 years, and everyone's are different, because we're all different style of fans. And I think that's what this spectacle brings over any other event. And I guess that's the difference. So when you're watching this weekend, just remember, just have fun. Let's not be as cynical about the product. And if you still are, again, maybe we forget that it is entertainment first. And that's where the indie wrestling comes in, or New Japan, or Ring of Honor, and everything else that's out there. So have fun, damn it.
Right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys so much for checking out the show. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I want to thank everybody who has given the show a chance from the beginning. We started this particular podcast back in 2016 after WrestleMania 32, and we've reached 100 episodes. And through that process, I started my own website. We've gone through a lot of stuff throughout the year. We have we unfortunately reached to the point where we got a bad political environment, but we don't need to get into that. But through that process, I think this podcast in general has provided some good vibes for the wrestling fans out there who want to listen to something different, and for those who want to support wrestling for what it is and not just bash it the entire time. So I want to thank you guys so much for giving this podcast a chance and giving me a chance after I left ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. So from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshi. Follow Adam at Twitter and Instagram at AdamDaley13. Adam, any final thoughts before we head out?
No, I want to give a shout out to all my crew down there in New Orleans. Enjoy yourselves. I wish I could be down there, but maybe that means you guys will see us in a couple concerts later in April. Maybe you'll see us at Extreme Rules. Maybe we're going to go to the UFC fight, the Punkster fight, and that. I don't know. Guess this opens up a lot of avenues, but for the Dream Team. And all the rest of the crew that we would have been with down there. Miss you guys, love you guys, Josh, you, everyone down there. Have a blast down there. Enjoy Bourbon Street. Trust me, this WrestleMania is going to change your life. I'm telling you, there's nothing like there's nothing like the city of New Orleans, especially when everybody is down there for the same cause. Where the band 311 has a festival down there all the time, like Voodoo Fest, like you name it. When there's a theme going in New Orleans, you bet your ass a party is a brewing. So, brother, have a good time. Don't do anything I would do, and just enjoy yourself down there.
Will do. For Punkster, I'm Josh. Thank you guys so much for checking out episode 100 of Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. We'll have another episode for you next week when I come back to Chicago or Chirac for those who call it here in the Windy City. So hope you guys enjoy WrestleMania this weekend. If I see you down there, come say hello. I don't bite. Just don't be a Nimrod. That's all I ask. So for Punkster, I'm Josh. Thank you guys so much. Check out the show. And remember, you're the director of your life story. Never let anybody impugn your character or your integrity. This is your life story. Direct it your own way. I'm out. Peace.